Hello! The Tempest by William Shakespeare is a very troubling play, and that's just right on the surface. I'm not even talking digging deep and doing some historical research. Just right there on the surface, it's a pretty troubling show. Prospero has been kicked out of his kingdom from neglect. He was reading and studying the dark arts and not really focused on his state. So he was removed from office, put on a boat with his child, and pretty much shipwrecked on an island. Once he arrives there, he discovers that it is inhabited by a few other beings, including Sycorax and her new child. It's said that she dies, but just from circumstances and things that are said from different characters, I am kind of led to believe that Prospero might have had something to do with that, and the fact that he has her magical staff after her death is kind of suspect, to say the least. But anyway, this high up aristocrat crash lands on this island and declares himself the lord of it. And the natives are either mysteriously dead or turned to slaves. So we have Sycorax and her child. After Sycorax is done for, Caliban, her child, is essentially turned into Prospero's slave, and Sycorax is also imprisoning a elemental god or fairy. Depends on your interpretation. Ariel was locked within a tree and left there until, and Sycorax died with. Ariel was there for a 12-year period within this tree, and within that time, she died. And Prospero comes and rescues Ariel and tells him, if you serve me for a year, I'll let you out of this tree. And Ariel has already gone crazy by being stuck here, so he agrees. But we come into the story after this year, like coming upon this year, and Ariel's like, dude, I've done everything you've asked me to do. I've done it with a smile on my face and crashing ships and doing all these horrible things for you. Will you please let me go? And like throughout the entire show, Prospero is like, when I feel like it, well, I rescued you from that horrible person, Sycorax. So yes, I obviously have a lot of opinions on this and a lot of internal turmoil playing Prospero, and it's gentrification, like straight up and down gentrification. He hits this island, he declares himself the lord on it, and he takes the power from those who had been there for who knows how long. And Caliban, towards the end of the show, actually vents, like he tries to have Prospero killed, because he's like, he killed my mom, he took my legacy, which was this island. Like, this island is rightfully mine by birth. And it's kind of the way it's written, and especially the way it's played 90% of the time, it's kind of like Caliban is this creature who doesn't deserve these things, and Prospero is a hero for saving him and Ariel from the horrible Sycorax, who we never get to meet. We only hear about Sycorax from Prospero and Caliban, and it's two different stories. Prospero declaring Sycorax a hag and talking about her deformities, when it's quite obvious that Caliban loved his mother and didn't want her to die. So it's just very interesting that we never get to hear from Sycorax. We never get that side of the story, and I feel we never get the whole story. But end of show. Prospero is reunites with his brother and the duke that kicked him out of the kingdom, and he's given back his dukedom, and they all decide to go have a drink and talk about the time on the island before they all go home in the morning. leaving Caliban and probably his now drunk compatriots on the island to fend for themselves after it's been sucked dry of probably all its natural resources. I'm sorry, that's now. That's not Shakespeare time. Gentrification. Um, so looking at this and thinking about it, I decided to take one of the more popular monologues and do it as Sycorax, because she doesn't have a voice in this show. And I feel like this monologue particularly speaks to having her power stripped from her. It is Prospero's monologue, so he is speaking as if he's giving it up willingly, which doesn't quite line up with what I'm going for. But the talk of all the magical things that he has done throughout this time, Sycorax did. And she actually originated it, and he took the power from her, which was in her staff. So she had the ability to do all these things and probably more. Like at the end, he talks about, he mentions to someone that she had the ability to control the moon. Like, and he's talking about, ebbs and flows of the ocean and taking Jove's stout oak. Like, he took Sycorax's power. So I thought it would be really interesting to give a point of view from that character through this monologue. So thank you. You elves of hills, brooks, standing lakes and groves, and you that on sands with printless foot do chase the ebbing Neptune, and do fly him when he comes back, you demi-puppets, that by moonshine do green sour ringlets make whereof the you not bites, and you whose pastime it is to make midnight mushrooms that rejoice to hear the solemn curfew. By whose aid, weak masters though you be, I have bedimmed the noontide sun, called forth the mutinous winds, and twixt the green sea and azured vault set roaring war to the dread rattling thunder have I given fire, and rifted Jove's stout oak with his own bolt. The strong base promontory have I made shake, and by the spurs plucked up the pine and cedar graves by my command have waked their sleepers, oped and let 'em forth by my so potent art. But this rough magic I hear is your, and when I have required some heavenly music, which even now I do, to work mine end upon their senses this airy charm is for, I'll break my staff, bury it in certain fathoms of the earth, and deeper than did ever plummet sound, I'll drown my book. Thank you.